Hello everyone, Onlydraven here again, and today we're doing another tutorial in Minecraft Sky Factory 4. Today I'm going to be showing how to build an extremely large fission reactor. Large enough to allow you to get two specific advancements. The size does matter, and also the gone fission advancement, which is to create a reactor that will do at least, I believe it's 25,000 RF per tick. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how to build a fission reactor itself, I have already made a tutorial on the basics of that, which I will link at the end of this video. Today we're going to be mostly going over the different coolers and such and how to build it inside the reactor in order to kind of reach the amount of RF that we need. Now, if you find the video helpful and you like it, be sure to click the like button, but most importantly, please remember to hit that subscribe button. That way you can see all my videos and tutorials as they come out. Now, I want to preface this by saying that there are a lot of different combinations for using the different coolers and components inside of a reactor. So there's a lot of different designs. The one I'm using is a more common one and a pretty easy one to put in there to reach the advancements that we're looking for. So right off the bat, I've already built the reactor. As you can see, it's pretty huge. So the reactor itself has to be 24 by 24. Now, that means the inside space has to be 24 by 24. So the outer edge itself is physically going to be larger. But when you're finished, and for the record, a reactor door does count as part of the outside casing, so you can do that. But inside, this space has to be 24 by 24. So technically, there are 24 blocks across, and then one on each outer edge. So the outer edge is actually 26 is the overall size of the reactor. An important thing also to remember is, as you can see, this outer edge, it doesn't make a perfect cube, and that these corner slots are empty. If you do make a perfect cube, it will not work. It does have to be in this design. So the bottom edge and the corners basically have to be missing on any size reactor that you make in order for it to successfully complete. Now, once you have built this to this size, so it's 24 by 24 inside, and you go to the fission controller itself, which again, you can just set on the outside there, and you right click on that, you'll see that it says 24 by 24 by 24 fission reactor. As long as it says that, that means you've successfully built the reactor that you're looking for. A lot of times you'll get an error message that says that something is missing. So let's just say we grab an extra reactor casing and I'll slap one down here. That's just fine. But if you were to build it and you were to put a whole bunch of extra stuff in there, you're going to get an error that says outer casing incomplete or something along those lines. So if you're getting any type of error message, you've got some extra blocks or missing blocks that are keeping you from successfully having the design. Now, I also have some fission reactor ports as ways to get the RF power out of the reactor once it's built. Those count as outer casing as well. All right, so let's talk about the different components we're going to need inside. We're going to need graphite blocks, which is just 9 graphite ingots. We're going to need reactor cells, which is 4 pieces of glass and 4 tough alloy. We're going to need to make a bunch of empty coolers. So that is a component to make all of the different coolers we're going to use, and that is 4 tough alloy and 4 steel ingots. Now we're going to be using some water coolers, which is an empty cooler and a water bucket. We're also going to be using quartz coolers, which is 2 quartz blocks and 6 crushed quartz, as well as an empty cooler. We're going to use glowstone coolers. It is an empty cooler, 2 glowstone blocks, and 6 glowstone dust. Lapis coolers, which is 2 lapis blocks and an empty cooler. Redstone coolers, which is 2 redstone blocks and 2 regular redstone with an empty cooler. And then lastly, magnesium coolers, which is just an empty cooler surrounded by magnesium ingots. Now, if you go into the JEI and you type in cooler, you're going to get all of the coolers I just mentioned, as well as several others. There are a lot of different combinations and designs that you can do to make sure that you have enough cooler coolers, if you will, to equal out the amount of heat that your fission reactor is making. If you do not, your reactor will literally melt. It'll destroy everything you've put together. Now, if you go over any of the coolers and you hold the shift button, you'll see that it not only does it say what the cooling rate of that component is, of that cooler, it's also going to show you the requirements for that cooler to be working. So a redstone must touch at least one reactor cell. So when you put that in your fission reactor, it has to be touching your reactor cell in order to be doing anything. Whereas a quartz cooler must touch at least one active moderator block, which we're going to be using graphite blocks. That's our active moderator block. And then a glowstone cooler must touch at least 2 active moderator blocks. So again, it's got to kind of be touching 2 of those. So not a problem. So again, a lot of combinations. We're also going to be using the magnesium, which is touch 1 reactor casing and 1 active moderator block. So it's got to be touching the outside of the fission reactor as well as one of the moderator blocks. So different combinations there. So we're going to go in here and I'm going to show you this setup, how I use to hit what we're looking for. So I'm going to grab all those components that we just made. I've got a stack of them. You're going to need a lot of them. I have stacks of 64 because I am doing this in creative. So you're actually going to need more than that for some of these. So we are going to start off by dropping just 9 water coolers right there. Very easy to do, right on the bottom. Now we want to make sure that there is 1 block space on the outer corner. Now the diagram that I'm going to be using here, you're going to see it in a couple of minutes, can be done in all 4 corners. But really, you only need to do 1 quarter in order to get both of the advancements. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop down our coils. And that's going to be those. Okay, as you can see, those are going to go on the outside corners of the water coolers that we've put down. Next, we're going to take our graphite block. We're going to put that in the open spaces everywhere but the middle. The middle is going to get a glowstone cooler. So that's the basic design of how we're going to start off. Now, kicker to this is we are going to build this all the way up. Now, we're not going to go all the way to the ceiling. We want to have a little room on top. So you can leave a little bit of space up in there. And we're going to repeat this process in each of these spots. So let's get those up there. It is awfully dark up here, so let's grab a torch real quick. Slap that on the wall. Let's get a little light. Make sure we're doing it the right height here. And our graphite block is going to do the same thing. We're going to go up the same height. Whoop. Shot. And then in the middle is our glowstone. Just going to help give us a little bit of light here as well for a minute or 2 until we cap that off. And then we go back to our reactor coil for the corners. A reactor cell. I keep calling it a coil, but it's a reactor cell. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in our graphite blocks. Okay, so the purpose of a graphite block is it actually increases the amount of RF or energy that a reactor cell that it's touching is going to produce, but it's also going to increase the heat. Okay, so as you can see here now, we've got this little 3x3 tower going all the way around up to about here. Now, the next step is this one single glowstone cooler row is not going to be enough to cool all of this down. So we're going to need some more. So on the outside, not in this very corner, but one away, and we're going to do one up from the floor. Okay, we are going to start with our lapis. So we're going to put a lapis here. We're going to put a lapis here. So we're going to do 2 stacks of lapis. There we go. All right, so real quick, I'm going to clear the weather up so we don't have to listen to that thunder. Now, just to cover why we've done it in this pattern again. So when we looked at our lapis, we looked at earlier, it said it must be touching at least one reactor cell and one reactor casing. So in this situation, it's touching the outer casing and it's touching this cell. So both of those are meeting that requirement. Our glowstone has to be touching at least 2 active moderators, which means it has to be touching at least 2 of these graphite blocks. So being in the middle, it gets all 4 of them. Okay? So what we're going to do for this lapis is, again, we're going to do it again in this spot here. We're going to do it again right here. All right, so that means we have 4 stacks, if you will, of lapis. In this, again, in each one, the lapis is touching the outer casing as well as it is touching one of the cells. So that's going to work fine. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump to our magnesium. Now, magnesium says it must touch at least 1 reactor casing and 1 moderator block. So much like the lapis, it has to be touching the outer edge. Instead of a cell, it must be touching the moderator block, which is our graphite. So we're going to jump down here. And we're going to put our magnesium in these 2 spots. There we go. So that's our outer edge. And each of these are meeting the requirements in order to be working. Now, out here on the outside, of course, anything we put touching this outside will not be able to touch one of the outer reactor casings. So we have to use something different. And this is why we have the redstone, which is going to go stack here and stack here. Those are going to go all the way up because a redstone requires it to be touching at least 1 reactor cell. Each of these will be. And then we're also going to be doing our quartz. And a quartz, grab it here. Let's go. There it is. Quartz must be touching at least 1 active moderator cell. So that's our graphite block. So we're going to go ahead and build these all the way up. All right. Got next one. Finish it up, 1 more stack of quartz. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 9 more water coolers, and I'm going to cap off the top. Okay? Now, again, a water cooler must touch at least 1 reactor cell or moderator block. That's why we put that on the top or the bottom, because in this top 9, it's touching both our graphite blocks as well as our cells. And that is going to cap it off. You can go up a little bit higher if you want, or all the way up to the roof. That's fine. I just did this as an example. That should be more than enough to give us what we're looking for. And this pattern can be repeated in all 4 corners of your reactor. So basically quadrupling the amount of RF that you're going to be producing with this pattern. So now if we go out here, go ahead and shut the door. Take a look. You can see that, again, it's still completely fine. There's no fuel in there. You'll see that we're getting negative heat of 23,000. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves some fuel. I'm using just some basic TBU fuel and turn that on. So it's going to take a moment, but as you can see, the energy that our reactor is producing is increasing very easily. But if we look over here at our heat level, it's not going up. It's not changing. And that's because with the pattern that we have used for our coolers, we are doing more cooling than we are creating heat. So your reactor can continue to run, produce all the RF that it needs. And as you can see, it's producing 26,560 RF per tick, but it's not producing any heat. Our cooling is completely negating that. So we zip over here and we just look at our advancements book. You'll see that size does matter advancement requires the 24x24x24 reactor, which we have built. And the GON fission has to produce at least 25,000 RF per tick. As you saw, we were doing 26,000, and that was just with one corner being built and not even going all the way up to the ceiling. We're doing 26,560 RF per tick, which is a ton of power. As long as you keep fuel going in there, that should really handle the vast majority of your RF needs for the majority of the game. But again, you can go ahead and do all four corners if you'd like, and even build some more in the center, in the corners and edges. There's a lot of different combinations you can do to just keep building the amount of RF that you need. And now all you have to do is just run either some energy extraction cables off of these ports and run them to your machines, or you can connect them to wireless energy and just run your machines from a distance. So very easy to do, but something that a lot of people have been asking for is how to build the larger reactor and how to meet those requirements to get those two advancements. Okay, but that's going to do it for today. It's going to build a really big reactor. It's going to provide you a ton of RF and get you a couple of the advancements you're going to need anyways. Alrighty. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you have any questions about this tutorial or any of my tutorials, please be sure to throw those down in the comments. I'm always looking for questions and such to reply, as well as any recommendations you may have for other tutorials that you'd like to see in Sky Factory 4. Always looking for other recommendations. This video here was a recommendation from someone, I believe it was on Reddit. So thank you very much again. Hope you have a great day.